watching at this time, we ask that you govern yourselves accordingly. Dr. Vine is going to come and lead us in prayer.
Eternal, all-wise God, our Father, we thank you today for the opportunity that we might worship you once again in spirit and in truth. As we come together, God, to elevate your name, to give praise and honor to you by the way we live, how we conduct ourselves in our daily lives, how we conduct ourselves in the handling of the business of our community, our homes. Please forgive us of our sin and bless us as we forgive those who sin against us. Bless tonight this forum, this occasion, for every person that's going to share from their heart, for every person that's going to ask a question, for everyone that's tuning in, that we might be able to be fed by the words that we hear so that we can make a choice that is best for all of us, and in the end, giving you all the glory. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Would you remain standing? The flag is over here. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. All right, let us begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, to which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to do the pledge to the Christian flag. It's over there in that corner. But if you don't know it, just look up at the screen. Could you put it on the back too? All right. Let us begin. I pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Savior for whose kingdom it stands, one Savior, crucified, risen, and coming again, with life and liberty for all who believe. And then let's do the pledge to the Bible. All right? Let us begin. I pledge allegiance to the Bible, God's holy word. I will make it a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I will hide his words in my heart that I might not sin against God. Amen. You may be seated. Thank you so much. Well, welcome to our Warner Robins Council Forum for Post-1 Special Election. Tonight I will be your moderator, and we will have questions asked, and hopefully tonight we will not be here for a long time, all right? But before I introduce our panel, please take out your phones and go to your Facebook page or your Instagram, your Twitter, and type in the Winning Church, and then share it with your friends and family. And we also on YouTube tonight, if anybody's asking. And also after tonight, if you desire to be further informed, please go to your Facebook, your Instagram, or Twitter and type in Warner Robins Did You Know? And then share, like, and follow, okay? Warner Robins Did You Know? And while you're typing it in, so your friends can follow you tonight, or you can share with them tonight. And please note that after it's all over, you can still go back and rewind it and watch it many times over. Tonight in our panel, we have Ms. Teresa Taylor. She has lived in Warner Robins all her life. She is a graduate of the class of 1980 at Northside High School and has lived in their neighborhood for 59 years. And her 87-year-old mother still lives in the same house on MacArthur since 1958. So she's retired from the medical field after 30 years, and she attends Northview United Methodist Church on Table Drive. She loves God, her family and friends and animals, and loves our great city and wants the best for all of us. So let's give a warm welcome for Ms. Teresa Taylor. Also on our panel is Mr. Charles Richardson, retired editorial page editor of the Telegraph, now artist in residence at Middle Georgia State University, and contributing writer for the Columbia Journalism, a long year project, Year of Fear. He also served on the Macon-Bibb County Urban Development Authority, and he attends Fellowship Bible Baptist Church. Let's welcome Mr. Richardson. And we also have some youth here tonight. Miss Alex Viney. She was born and raised in Warner Robins, attend Houston County High School, and is currently a third-year student at Georgia State University. She's also the daughter of Dr. Darrell and Diana Viney, and is a member of Hebron Fellowship Baptist Church. Let's welcome Miss Viney. Now, these are the candidates for post 1. Of course, you know, I believe in starting on time, so if we got the other two that are late tonight, I'm sorry. But we do have with us Mr. Derek Mack and Miss Catherine Harless. Let's give both of them. And we also invited Mr. Jeffrey Walker. From what I understand, he's got some medical issues going on. We also invited Mr. David Reed. We did not get any feedback. We contacted him by email, text, personal visit, the whole 9 yards. But for some reason, I guess this was not important tonight. All right? But nevertheless, we'll go on. I normally set some ground rules, but the candidates that we have tonight, I've seen them operate before, so I don't think we have to have any ground rules, because I don't think they're going to reach over and, you know, grab each other by the throat or nothing like that. So, but anyway, I will say that we will like to limit our answers to 2 minutes, if we can. And, of course, you may disagree with whatever you want to talk about. And, but if you go out in left field, we'll bring you back in. And so if you take too long, I'm here to, give you a signal. All right? And so tonight, our chosen panel will be asking the questions, and we would not really allow any of the audience to ask any questions tonight, because we really believe that we are filled with some great questions that I believe that our city want answers to. All right, so the only people that will be asking tonight are the chosen panel that we have. Now, if we go through them real quick, we might entertain Facebook questions or what have you, but I think that we're going to fill this hour up. I really believe we're going to fill it up. Now, when they give you feedback, panel, you're welcome to say, hey, can you elaborate on that, whatever you desire to do, because you are the panel, all right? All right, so we're going to get started tonight with question number 1, and that will be asked by Ms. Taylor.
Hello. What do you think that the role of city council is?
I think that's a very great question, and thank you for your time. I feel as though the opportunity to serve others, it's an honor. There's a sense of reverence, and that ties in with a burden of responsibility. It's one of the serious roles a person can have in city government, because you're a direct liaison to the people within your district and/or post, and citywide, post 1, that's the greatest responsibility out of all the councilmen, because it all falls under your umbrella. So therefore, as I'm in and about the communities and I'm talking to the people in this community, I see the concern in their face, which in turn delivers the message to me that this is a very serious job, and their livelihoods depends on the judgments that you make on behalf of their tax dollars. So as far as I'm concerned, as we move this city forward, city councilman, he's not the MVP, because the people of the city are the most valuable players, or shall I say, the most valuable assets. You represent them as you are their liaison, and they're trusting in you as they elect you to be a leader in this community on their behalf. And you need to constantly have an open book policy and always be accessible to them for their concerns, especially if they cannot reach or do not know how to reach the department heads or any concerns, whether it be the trash in their communities, their trash cans or anything. That's the job. It's not a privilege. You're not higher or better than the constituents that put you there. You're there to serve the citizens within your district at the greatest capacity with honor, and a sense of reverence and a burden of responsibility on their behalf, because whenever you make a decision for the people within this city, you're spending their money. This city belongs to the constituents that live here. They raise their kids here. They worship here. They entertain themselves. They invite their family members from out of town, and they want the best representation they could have leading their city forward. That's all inclusive for everybody. True democracy is at risk when you don't have true representation in the city council.
Good evening. What I think this role of the city council member is to have a voice for the citizens as well. We have a big responsibility to legislate, appropriate tax dollars, and pass ordinances. And unfortunately, in the past few years, some of that has not been well taken for the community. There's a lot of unknown issues there, like, you know, what's going on with G-Ramp? You know, has that stalemated? There's some things I don't even know about, that we need to know about. We need to be the ears and voices for our citizens. And I would like to do that this coming up term, and I hope that the people could trust us and that we're doing the best we can for this community in all aspects of city government.
Ms. Harless, Mr. Mack, I want to thank you for taking the time out to apprise yourself of Bishop B's platforms that he's given you this evening. As we can see, some decide to do otherwise. My question will go to Ms. Harless first. Warner Robins is an $80 to $100 million enterprise that requires real qualified management to understand the complexity of managing a growing city. Furthermore, candidates should be able to provide the citizens with a sense of comfort that the city has well-informed decision makers at the helm. Why do you believe you are qualified for this endeavor? And please name a qualification and a management experience that you believe will reveal your ability to perform this job.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Richardson. I've lived in Warner Robins most of my life. I've attended Macon State College. I've had numerous Department of Defense contractor positions, from logistics management, senior analyst. Currently, I'm a configuration management specialist. I help support foreign military sales contracts, making sure the requirements in those contracts are clear between the United States government and foreign entities and large contractors such as Lockheed Martin. I've worked at one time with the city of Centerville as their deputy city clerk. Prior to that was their water clerk for 5 years. I've seen behind us the doors of city government, and it's just like any business. You've really got to tend to it, take care of it, pay attention. Definitely have good management skills, in which I have that capability. Working with people, being a team member, and supporting program managers, leaders, because what your leaders, how they are successful, reflects upon you. And I tend to do that as working hard with the mayor and the council.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson, for this good question, sir. If I may give a brief synopsis of my background in management, it covers many layers of management throughout my lifetime and throughout my career for the majority of my adult life. I entered into the United States Army as a young man from this community where I went through the ranks throughout the United States Army, and because of my leadership skills at managing Flight Operations Center at a battalion and brigade level, I was pulled from those ranks by the 06 Colonel to be his direct assistant, helping him and the Sergeant Major manage day-to-day operations at a Tactical Operations Center in the United States Army. I did that in Korea, South Korea, from 1988 to 1989. Then I moved on and was stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana, where I assumed the same responsibility based on the recommendation for Colonel Charles Henry before he retired to the incoming commander, Colonel Roper. As I moved back here in Warner Robins from New Orleans after attending Southern University at New Orleans and Delgado Community College, I entered into civilian service with Robins Air Force Base, where I came through the ranks from being an aircraft mechanic on the F-15 to being a work leader based on my work ethic. From there, I was then promoted to an aircraft logistics specialist, which is also known as a production controller, which manages the PDM process of the F-15 from the time it gets here to Robins until it's wheels up and goes back out to the warfighter. Throughout our work ethic, we work at a very high pace rate where we manage a $100 million aircraft to manage its parts and our mission partners as the aircraft flows down a PDM line, and we synchronize with our mission partners as those parts are disassembled and come back to the aircraft to meet a contract date, running as lean as we can to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse by managing those parts and not frivolous guesswork just to push the aircraft down the PDM line and further delay our process because we didn't make the right decisions during its tenure. Our parts cost in excess of $90,000 to $1 million a piece. I manage that on a daily basis. I have tangible references every day. When you hear the sound of freedom of an F-15 taking off that runway, that's a direct reflection of what I do every day. And it's an honor to do that because I have to look that pilot in his face when I tell him that that jet is safe. When aircraft come here, I'm the face of Robin Air Force Base. When those pilots come in and drop the jet off to me to ensure them that you left it in good hands, and when they come to pick it up and have to fly it as far away as England, Lakenheath Air Force Base in England, 9 hours across the Atlantic Ocean, nowhere to land. I sign that aircraft over to them, and they entrust the management skills of me and my constituents at work. On top of that, while doing that, which is the most serious job I've ever had, I also manage my own company called the Immaculate Entertainment, where I'm a booking agent for a lot of artists and promoters that call me from all over the country, and I have to negotiate contracts on a daily basis and ensure that they're getting the best product for their money, sir. And with that being said, being able to communicate, agree to disagree, to meet a task with the money allotted. Whatever the budget is, we allocate those funds accordingly to meet the date within a timely manner without fraud, waste, and abuse. That's just a small snippet of my experience with managing millions of dollars. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, it's nice to meet y'all. The question I would like to ask is, the city is currently being managed by a mayor for day-to-day management. The council approved the city manager a few years ago, and we are the only city of our size with a full-time mayor and no city administrator. So why do we still feel the need to keep in contract with an expensive consultant instead of hiring a city administrator? And in your opinion, what is the best way to manage the city going forward?
Yes, good evening. That is a good question. That's a very good question because we have a charter that says we should be hired already a city administrator. At the new charter, I think, was established in 2019. I believe we should have that set up as we do now, as it should be stated in the charter. I do not know why it's been put off hiring a city administrator or having an expensive consultant. But in my opinion, the best way to manage the city going forward is to have a city administrator, a city manager, possibly a part-time mayor, and definitely council members. The city administrator gives continuity and a fair opportunity for city businesses. You also have a professional in the office for day-to-day operations, and that's what's needed, not politicking anywhere. Thank you.
Ms. Alex, that was a great question, and it's a concern of mine, to be honest with you. As I went to the Georgia Municipal Association website, and I looked at cities our size, and I looked at what the mayors were being paid, what the city administrators were being paid. For cities this size, the mayor does not assume the responsibility of running the day-to-day operations. The mayor should be free to represent our city and go try to attract and recruit businesses and industry for a town this size so that it could continue to grow. This is the only place that I've heard of where a mayor tends to day-to-day business to include employee grievances. That shouldn't be the responsibility of the mayor. That should be a city administrator's job. It should be the city administrator's job to do the hiring and firing, not the mayor. It's money, to be fruitful. It's money, and it doesn't sit right with me. I'm all for a city administrator. Be transparent in all of our efforts. No one has a direct relationship with the mayor so that he can influence contracts going to and from city government as we move forward. It's a collective effort, and if the council voted on it, then it should be honored. And if it's not honored, we need to dig into the weeds and find out why not. And if we can't find out why not, everyone at that level should be held accountable by the citizens within this city, but for them to show up and show up at the polls and let them know how displeased they are with the fact that it was voted on and you went against it. I want the citizens to be demanding citizens. This is not the mayor's playground. It's not the council member's playground. You're there for a reason to honor the charter and the processes there to move this city forward. Thank you.
I'd like to ask a follow-up question on that. Who would hire, according to the charter, who would hire the city administrator, and who would have the power to fire that city administrator?
That would be a collective effort between the council. I'll give you a tangible example. No pun intended, Pastor B, but if he has to go, the deacons fire him and the deacons hire him. That's a responsibility of the council. Vet the candidates for city administrator. If there's a tie in the process, the mayor breaks the tie. It's a collective effort. It's not one person's responsibility to hire him. It's a vetted process. You put it out there, and you get the most qualified candidates based on their experience to hire him to do a job. And you also hold him accountable. Thank you.
I don't know if that's in writing or not, but it's not the way it's being operated. Mayor is the one that's hiring and firing the city administrator. That's the way I've been told that that's how it's done.
That is correct.
Yeah. So if it needs to change, then that's all good.
I think if you make it a collective panel, it keeps it from being fraud. It keeps fraud out of the equation, if that makes sense.
Right. I'm not saying that what you said.
Right. That's just my opinion.
Right.
Now, the doctrine and how the process should work, that's not something that I'm privy to because I've never held seat before. But it's just the right way of doing things.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. You're going to add to that.
I do have a follow-up question. I was going to ask what Mr. Richardson asked, so thank you for touching on that. But you mentioned how about the mayor's influence, and I would like to know, how would we make sure that a city administrator is fairly hired? Because a lot of times when decisions are made for someone to get hired, it's based off of knowing the mayor or knowing someone high up. So how do we prevent someone just getting the job just because they know someone, instead of just being qualified and being able to do the actual job, instead of, oh yeah, I know such and such, so I got it?
I believe they have a standard process of interviews and everything. I know they were hiring through the director of IT, and you have a checklist with the qualifications as needed per department, per occupation. And then they present that right now to the mayor, and he determines who will be selected. And not necessarily it goes the way the director or department heads want it to be. Well, just a second. But the reason for that's happening now and not following the city charter, I believe in the city charter there is a paragraph or note in there stating that the mayor still has that, I don't know if you call it responsibility / control of the hiring. Go ahead.
Good question, Ms. Vining. I feel as though there needs to be checks and balances in the hiring process that the city administrator should follow. That keeps everything honest. And there should be, whatever the council or the hiring authority puts in place, there needs to be an audit of the hiring processes. Maybe it be quarterly, yearly, bi-yearly, or every 5 years, to vet this very concern that you have, to ensure that there's no buddy system going on, because that's the way of the world. It's run rampant, and it's metastasized throughout every industry within this country. So there needs to be checks and balances in place to curtail that, with stiff consequences as a deterrent to not handle yourself in such erroneous behavior.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Taylor?
Okay, Mr. Mack, Warner Robins Mayor and City Council have clearly developed a transparency problem. The city has had substantial increase in lawsuits over the past 4 years about contracts being signed and then canceled without clear explanation and inconsistency in human resources practices. Overall, unless the mayor and council are providing good news, a general silence comes from the mayor and most of the council to avoid providing the public with any clarity. In fact, many citizens believe the mayor and council over the past year have used the pandemic to keep the meetings closed and citizens unintentionally uninformed. What is your stance on this issue, and will you commit tonight to full transparency? Will you, if elected, be making yourself available to the citizens and press to answer in full their concerns?
That's a really good question, Ms. Taylor. You know why I say that's a really good question? Because I'm the all-access candidate, the all-inclusive candidate. I was on the phone with a woman till 10:30 last night asking me about this council race, and I never met her a day in my life. She got my number from somewhere, but I took the time to consider her concerns.
That's important.
That's very important. That's why because of that behavior that you mentioned, I'm the all-access candidate. Now, there's a solution, because I know I can't service everybody in that capacity, right? So I have an idea where we can create a cultural assessment committee and a newsletter so that there can be traffic going to and from the city to the mayor's office, from the mayor's office to the city, to answer those questions, because everybody's not tech savvy. Everybody can't attend the Zoom meeting. Everybody can't make a council meeting. Everybody doesn't have cable where it's supposed to be on a television channel on a weekly basis. Whatever that expense may incur, we may not have that available. You know, so we need to create some tangible old school things like a newsletter to let them know with a 5-day look ahead, this council meeting, we will be voting on this. These were the results of the last council meeting. This is why we made this decision. These are the effects of these decisions. If we make the decision to do this, that, or the third, this will impact us going forward. That's the most tangible way, the easiest way, the simplest way. Because everyone is not tech savvy. Everybody doesn't have the access to the way that they're trying to view it now. And if you're hiding something, most times it's not a good thing or an honorable thing that's taking place. But we don't want to be accusatory in our statements because we have to get into office and find out why they're doing what they're doing. Point in case, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it irritates me, but it's not personal, but it irritates me, but I'm intending to find out why the decision was made for the city to raise their utility rates 10% every year for the next 5 years without any city involvement, without any constituent involvement, without any citizens' involvement, no newsletter, or why. We didn't really have to do that. We did it just because we could. That's telling me that the people in the city are not you do not have their best interest at hand. People are struggling to pay their bills as it is, and you vote to raise the utility rates, the source that gives this world life, water, and you raise it. That's gouging, in my opinion. All right, thank you. Covertly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor, for that question. That's a very good question. And my answer to that is yes, I would be fully transparent to the public. I don't have anything to hide, though there's some things that don't need to be known for some things, but majority, yes, especially when you're spending tax dollars, people's money, our money, and where's it going? We have an open records book to get the agenda minutes from the meetings. We used to have meetings where you can physically come to it, and now we don't. And I think that newsletter would be a good thing. And then again, you know, like you said, not everybody has the internet or cable and everything else to have access to that information. But I think the public would like to have more information about the goings on. I would, because there's some information you're asking me questions I don't even have an answer to. You know, they don't, excuse me, the council members and the mayor not always are able to do their homework prior to the meeting. And they vote on things before even reading the information, from what I've heard. And then that's just like us. We can't decide on anything if we're not informed, you know, correctly and appropriately. In regards to your information, your question about the utilities went up 10% this year, and they will go up 10% the next 5 years. And for what I understand, the information is because our natural gas, we don't have that anymore, accessibility, in the enterprise fund, which was our nice moneymaker there for our budget, because the general fund has to be balanced. And if it's not, we used to get it from the enterprise fund, but that is no longer available. You and I don't need to answer that question, why it's not available. The city council members and the mayor of Warner Robins needs to answer that question. And they have to answer for you guys why we don't have natural gas funds to come in anymore like we used to. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
If I may expound on what she said, the natural gas, that was our cash cow. That was the main bread and butter for our enterprise funds, with our biggest customer being Anchor and Glass. It was our cash cow. The state came in, we were mismanaged. We were being fined ungodly amounts of money because of mismanagement. So therefore, we were forced to turn it over to an outside contractor, so the profits that we were earning from that cash cow that were paying the bills for the city is being outsourced to a contractor to run something that the mayor and current council should be running. That's another reason why we need a city administrator. That's the reason why these things are happening, is a direct reflection of the current administration and leadership we have in this city.
Thank you.
You all have already hit on this, so we're going to hit it again. The public should have a general expectation that their tax dollars are being spent carefully and responsibly. Over the past few years, various council members have said things like, "I didn't know about this," or "I didn't receive information on that," showing a clear lack of knowledge on an item being voted on. It gives the appearance that council is uninformed or unprepared to vote on important items. This does not create confidence in the mayor or council from the citizens. We need council members who will do their homework before showing up for meetings or demand management provide better information in a timely manner before committing to a vote. What are your thoughts toward a solution, and what commitment will you make toward maintaining a standard of care toward the citizens' money?
Well, definitely, I want to support entities that are involved with the City of Warner Robins that help economic development growth here in the city. I basically said authority. Economic Development Authority is one of those entities. The Houston County Board of Education as well. They're all positive entities that support all of us. They bring businesses in from outside of Georgia, and we just need to work together as best we can. We have 1,600 acres or so outside of around Russell Parkway. We're supposed to, near I-75, and we're supposed to have Costco. A possibility is some other businesses from Minnesota and California, and that's been held up as well because of the mayor and the council at this time, and I don't have an answer for that. To balance the budget, the city's budget is very important, and on time, not 1 week, 2 weeks into the next calendar year. That's very important. So we really need to make sure when we get involved in dealing with these businesses outside of Warner Robins, yeah, okay, you can come in and have your business here. Is it safe, though? Is it environmentally safe for our community? You know, we need that. That's so important. We need to make sure that they can provide us still a clean, healthy, conditioned living for all of us. Not just put one out there just because we're going to make money. So who's going to maintain that 5, 10, 20 years from now? You know, we have to really take care of those homes. You know, we're talking about north side of town before, mainly those empty lot properties. You know, we could do so much better than that for our people. And hoping that if we can make Warner Robins a smart city, I believe we can start now to be a better progressive city and look not just tomorrow, not just next year, but decades from now, because this cost of housing, affordable housing, is going up. It is hard to get skilled labor here, and even in the construction business, it's really hard. There are other ideas that can be helpful as for spending tax dollars for, if you're going to do affordable housing, like modular factory-built homes. They kind of do that now for some apartments, for colleges like Auburn University, big universities that, you know, have a lot of attendance of their people, you know, their students there. And they have to do it efficiently and cost efficiently. I mean, at any rate, I do want to be sure that those tax dollars are spent as best they can. Unfortunately, what we're going into in regards to what you just been heard about, the enterprise fund, we've got a lot to deal with. There's a lot of work to, and trying to see where the monies are going, where we have. Unfortunately, we may have to raise taxes just to provide those services for the leaks, water leaks throughout the city. The structures of everywhere, we need to take care of that as well. So I believe if we get to work with those other entities, have good, strong relationships with those communities, also with the city of Perry, Peach County, that everyone will benefit from it. We have the SPLOST, the penny tax, that helps tremendously, especially for the recreation department. That's provide that for our children today, hope for the future. We also need some support for our seniors. I'm not too far from that. Like, I've been here since I was 20, and I knew people my age then, and it's like, wow. They could tell me, oh, I remember when I was here in the 60s, I'm like, oh, wow, because I was just born. But at any rate, I think with full transparency, full communication with the people, and definitely making sure our tax dollars are spent wisely as best it can, that it would be in the best interest for the citizens of Warner Robins.
Thank you for your answer. Thank you for this question, Mr. Richardson. I believe the culture in which you just described through the synopsis and before your question, I think that's the reason why we have such a low turnout with our registered voters in these type of elections. There's a lack of confidence. And as I'm out and about in this community, whether it be Walmart or just walking around the parks or wherever I'm at, people do not have the confidence that their vote counts. The quote-unquote saying is they're going to do what they want to do anyway. And if you look at the layout of the city, there's a huge part of the city that doesn't feel as though they're included in the decisions that are being made for this city. So why even bother and vote is the culture that we have. And the MAC train is trying to change that culture as the all-inclusive candidate, all right? But with that being said, for the not being prepared to do the business of the city at the council meetings, there needs to be a mandate that each council member has the agenda for the next council meeting in a timely manner so that they are prepared. Maybe if, just like you prepared these questions here, maybe they need to have it printed out, but it's a time of COVID, so it might not be able to do that, and make each councilman sign for the agenda so that no one can say, I didn't know about that, I didn't get that, or I didn't get it in a timely manner. And whoever is responsible for administering the agenda, if they didn't get it in a timely manner, then that's a foul on that person, and that person needs to be held accountable. I give you a tangible example. In my job on a daily basis, I have to reconcile the records before every aircraft takes off, every F-15 takes off that runway. There's a format that we have that unpredictable maintenance work requests have to be given to the records reconciliation department within a 24-hour period for him to do what he needs to do to reconcile them, to get them back so that that aircraft can fly throughout the 781 forms. That's a process in place to ensure a safe aircraft. We need to ensure that we have safe and honorable agendas for everyone to survey before they make a decision. Because if a councilman is not prepared with the agenda, I just have no idea as to how they can make the best decision for every constituent and citizen within this city if they're not prepared. So there needs to be checks and balances there. It's a cesspool of complacency somewhere. That's how I feel about that.
There is a clear racial issue in regards of the hiring, disciplinary, and promotion practices in this city, as well as a dwindling amount of minorities in upper management. Citizens have spoken out about this on a regular basis for the past few years, and despite the demand for answers on the subject, the problem continues to only worsen. As a council member, what will you do to help fight this injustice? In the past, most council members are quite silent on the matter, and we all know that silence is complacency. So, in your own words, what do you think you would do if you were chosen as a council member to help stop this clear racial problem?
Well, first I would definitely say, well, how come we're not using that new charter? We need to start using that new charter. We need to go ahead and hire a city administrator, because that's their position to hire. And I would support that 100%. The HR department today, I don't know what's going on there. Again, without the politics, then we might can have a better run government, city government operation. My position is not to hire and fire. You know, my position is enforce what has already been set. Let's apply it, that city charter, and make sure that happens.
That's a great question, Ms. Vining. I feel as though when you're talking about hiring personnel, you need to have a court document. We utilize this on the base, and I'm a witness to it. A court document for the job's responsibilities. There should not be one person doing any hiring. When it comes to promoting people, there should be a team or a committee or a staff with a point system in an interview process, and to find the best qualified person based on their experience and the responsibilities and the experience needed for that job, and to ensure that that person has the tools to do the job in a proper manner. So if I'm sitting here and I'm applying for a job, there needs to be at least 3 or 4 people within the city to vet the process to ensure there's no favoritism going on. And you document it, and you turn your documentation and your notes to a separate entity to tally up the points, and the individual with the most points from the collective effort of the committee that's doing the hiring process, the one that rises to the top, that's the one that gets the promotion. And therefore, it also keeps fraud, waste, and abuse and favoritism out of the equation. Now, we do know in these situations, people can finagle the numbers and so forth, but that's why you get people from different backgrounds to do the hiring and firing. Not necessarily firing, but the hiring and promotion of individuals, especially if it's done from within or from the outside. And there needs to be a mentorship program for each one of the employees to ensure that there's growth throughout their career as well. There should be checks and balances there as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
The trash contract signed 25 years ago was a bad deal for the city that has cost the citizens more money than it should have, while delivering a satisfactory product for many years. A new contract is finally up for renewal at the end of this year. Do you have a plan on how to approach this issue, or any ideas on how to avoid the poor decisions of the past? Mr. Mack.
Great question, Ms. Taylor. First of all, you never want to enter into a contract for 25 years, 5 at the most. So that was a mistake that we made 25 years ago, okay? But we can't dwell on that, because the one thing you can do nothing with is the past. But moving forward, we have a trash contract with the county. I would like to talk to Mrs. Stoniker and the commissioners within the county to see if we can piggyback on the contract with the county to increase the revenue for the contract, with the hopes of diminishing the rates for the constituents who has the trash being picked up. Prime example, I'm a promoter and a booking agent in my private business. And if I'm booking for an artist, my rate is this amount. I'll give you a number, $10,000, sir, for this one-time performance. But if you give me multiple dates, we'll lower it to $8,000. The more dates you give us, the more we're willing to work with you. So therefore, if we piggyback off that contract, probably tripling the responsibility of the contractor, he's creating more jobs for his business, more revenue for his business, so more than likely he'll lower the rates for everybody involved. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. And that would be my plan going forward, to negotiate something, partner up with the county in their trash contract to implement it with the city with the hopes of lowering the rates of their trash pickup.
Yes, I'm not too familiar with this trash contract, but I've heard about it. Yes, 25 years ago, they had a contract with this company, and again, that was politics, why they had that contract. And I've heard it was ending as well. I heard it also they had already another company they want to have business with, but it's not going to be that long. I don't know the name of that company, but I think, yeah, talking and with the county, Tommy Stonecker and their people, and see if we could work with them as well. I would like to see if we could get some recyclables here in the city, not just picking up trash. I think that's very important as well. I don't think that would be costly either. It'd be really beneficial for everyone. Thank you.
With the education system we have in Houston County being one of the top in the state, we're developing young adults, such as myself, who are being equipped to excel in their communities as members of the workforce, pursuit of a higher education, and productive members in the society. With this in mind, we are producing some of the most talented and capable young adults ready for the workforce. How do we provide jobs other than with the base? Affordable housing and recreation or entertainment that will be more attractive enough to either get us to stay or return to our community after college.
I strongly support that in regards to working with, again, with the Economic Development Authority to bringing in new jobs and everything. Most importantly, to have that smart city community so that when you have the smart technology, we need to have young adults coming in back. You know, your parents have sent you off for a higher education. We need you to return, if not within the next 5 or 10 years, to help support this effort for economic growth for this city. Not just the city, but for yourself as well as your families. We have a great opportunity, luckily, for the Air Force Base. We have other businesses that have franchise that you have opportunities to work with, purchase yourself, if you have the education to do so. And with that, it would just prepare you to be able to serve and lead yourself in our community. With that higher education, Warner Robins will benefit and be able to sustain economic growth. There are many other places, like I said, ensuring employment here right now. I'm hoping with this COVID that it will pass because, again, we're looking at small businesses that we're not able to profit from it, unlike the essential service businesses like the large corporate business, Lowe's or grocery stores. Things could be restricted for them. So who are we going to count on? Who can we count on? We got to count on ourselves, our community, our children, our future generations. And that's how we're going to be able to sustain here as a city. And I hope that this will be a good practice to help our future generations help with the city's economic growth.
Another great question. Working outside of the box of the Air Force Base, that's been an ongoing question for many years. We're influenced by it in every stretch of this community. It influences our restaurants, and it has influenced our growth since I've been here in 1977. I consider myself a lifelong citizen of this city, and there's nothing more that I would like to see than for Warner Robins Air Force Base to grow tangible businesses that are independent of Robins Air Force Base. But unfortunately, that's going to be really, really hard to do because we have a hub here that we haven't tapped into to reach its full potential yet. For instance, the GRAM process that we've been talking about forever that's been shelved. And I know this because I went, again, to the Georgia Municipal Association website to look at what's supposed to be going on in this particular city. And we were supposed to strengthen our relationship with that base to ensure growth outside of the base. Case in point, the city owns the land north of the runway. This is the longest runway between here and Atlanta. I watch every day outside of my office the largest aircraft in the free world, meaning the C-5 Galaxy, take off and land at that runway. We have an abundance of land north of the runway where we can build warehouses to house independent contractors such as other airlines and hubs for distribution centers that could even house a property on this side of the gate. For example, if we brought FedEx, look at how prosperous FedEx has been for the Memphis community. We can land those planes here, create a hub right outside this base. We can promote within, retain the talent. We have so many honorable and talented people that go to college, but they don't have the opportunity to earn the wages that they deserve after they've made the sacrifice for a minimum of 4 to 6 to 8 years from earning their bachelor's, master's, and/or secondary doctorate degrees. But they can't earn their living here if they're not in a job on that Air Force base. So we need an IT firm here. We need warehousing, distribution centers, even at the lower impact of our processes. We can turn it into a hub for a distribution of those items coming out of the distribution centers. Like we can promote people to buy their own individual trucks, create their own businesses, and be the direct hub between Savannah's port to this flight line to ship around the world. On the ground, we have a train track right across the street that can also be a hub to rail car items across this country. That in itself would draw businesses here like they did the gold rush and everybody went out west. There's a gold mine here, but nobody's grabbed the jackhammer and dug into the ground to make it work. And that's the main thing I think we can do to draw talent, draw industry here to retain its talent and create something for our young adults to do so they don't feel as though they have to go all over the world to entertain themselves. Thank you.
When I asked about, the base and everything, when you apply for a job at the base, 9 times out of 10, you need a degree. So what about the people who stay, but they can afford to go to college or they can't go get a degree? And even though the base does supply a lot of jobs, and a lot of times, I know a lot of people who are from here who work at the base and go live somewhere else. Because growing up, we always talk about, oh yeah, I can't wait to get out of Warner Robins, because to us, Warner Robins has nothing to offer us. It's a great place for families or when you're older and stuff, but when you're like 18, 20, 25 and all that, you don't want to really stay here. So the important issue, I think, is with the people, especially ones who have to stay. Like I get we have the base and that we all have the base and all that, but we need to do something for the people who don't qualify for base jobs or who don't want a base job and have a degree.
I can feel your pain there. You know why? Because I was that guy. I grew up right around here. This is hallowed ground for me. Before this church was here, this was a drive-in movie theater, and the screen was that way facing this way, and me and my brother used to sit in a tree to watch the dirty movies. This was our playground. This is hallowed ground for me. So I watched how it progressed and degressed as the city grew forward. And I wanted to get away to experience life outside of Warner Robins because at the time, I didn't feel as though it had anything to offer me. But as I ventured out, I realized the jewel that it was after I left New Orleans. I could have gone anywhere else in the world, but I chose to come back to Warner Robins because of the foundation that it has built on the backs of many men and women from everywhere else. There's a reason why people come back here. because of the community involvement, because of the cultural, the commingled culture that we had here. You know, I even came back from my duty station on a bus, and I bought my first car on North Davis Drive at Regency Nissan. That's part of a blighted situation we have here. But to get back to what the young adults want to have to entertain themselves or something for them to do, that's been an ongoing situation for a very long time. We have to make sure that we create a culture that's inviting to the young adult, whether it be nightlife or a central location for them to entertain themselves. One Rob is like that, and I'm in complete agreement with you. It's a community effort that needs to make that happen. We need to make it beneficial for investors to come here and invest in things like that to entertain our young adults. And until we as a community and a council make that inviting, that's going to be a hard thing to do. But we can do it. I'm fully confident in the fact that we can do it. But we have to make it inviting for investors, because for one, if we open up nightclubs, I think you're talking about nightclubs maybe, clubs, bars.
Not just clubs and bars. I mean something as simple as like a real nice park. Like you go all the way out to Atlanta so you can like experience Piedmont Park or something, or nice art exhibits. I'm not just talking like nightclubs. I'm talking things where adults, like a Dave and Buster's. Like, yeah, we have Rigby's, but that's more like fun and family. I'm talking things we like to do not just at night, but during the day.
You know what the necessary evil is? Money. Money runs the world. We can have all those things if we create some kind of way where we can invite the people that have the money to invest in those type of properties. That's the problem. It's about the money. So we need to find a way to invite investors to create that type of environment that you speak about.
That age group between 18 and 30, maybe even 40 years old, you guys need to go out. Y'all need to go out because you can come back and bring better ideas, improvement of the city. We need that from you guys. Y'all need to go, you do need to go and get a higher education, whether it's a trade school or, you know, from an engineer or a mechanic on a plane to know how to operate a franchise, a business. You have to explore yourself, because otherwise you're going to be stalemate if you stay in this one city or any city. You need to grow as well as we do. In order for us to grow, we need you guys to come back to help us, period. We both have left here, like you said, and come back. You know, the higher education, the training from work, meeting other people to inspire you and help you be who you can be, you know, whether you just want to be another part of the ministry of this church. They need your voice. We need your voice. We're here to help support the city as best we can with listening to you, like tonight, all of you. This past year, I've listened to news about COVID. You know, we've got to help each other out in order. I know you want to have more things to do around here, but in order to do things around here, we don't have those ideas if those people don't come back and say, hey, I saw this in Ontario. I saw this in Nashville, Tennessee, you know, and a lot of that has happened in other cities, you know, look at North Georgia. A lot of those small towns are like tourist cities now, and with the wine country and the hiking, and they have the, you know, water rafting, you know, all that, and that's nice. And it's also nice to come home. And it's very fortunate that we do have people who have college degrees, whether they work at the city or the county or the state or even at the base. But we need you guys to come back with those ideas and understand you don't feel like we're doing enough for you, but unfortunately, we need something also to do for those people that are 60, 70, 80 years old too. We got to work together as a community, and hopefully getting the right people in the council, not just in this city council, but all throughout the county, the Perry, city of Centerville, and those other authority boards. We need to work together.
Thank you.
I think you are missing out, though. You've got people at the base making very good salaries that would love to live a little closer to work. But quite frankly, downtown Macon has attracted them. The loss in downtown Macon, I've talked to some of your engineers that say right up front, there's nothing to do here in Warner Robins. So they live in Macon. So you're losing out tax money because that money's being spent in downtown. I mean, we appreciate it, but, and maybe that's what you're missing, downtown.
There's an entity in this city that wants to keep Warner Robins the way that it is. And unfortunately, the snake will eventually show its head. That's keeping it from growing. There was a process in place to develop the downtown area of Warner Robins through the Downtown Redevelopment Authority, or the Downtown Authority, Redevelopment Authority of Warner Robins, where Perkins Field was going to be demolished and build an area with storefronts and make it be a hub for people to have something to do, and then create some green space and things of that nature for people to come and make it attractive for people that you speak of. And we have to change the culture of the city. That's the bottom line. It's a cultural problem that we have in the city. There's a status quo here that are just fine with the way Warner Robins is, and that's our current leadership that's really complacent and is not giving a true representation of the constituents that live here, that invest here, and want to be here, but through their rigid processes, they force them to leave. Because, unfortunately, why do I have to deal with it? If that's what they want, and that people keep voting these type of people into these elected positions, let them have it. But we can change that culture if everyone were to just get on the Mac train.
Mr. Richardson, that's a great question and very good point to make. The other night I mentioned about the city of Warner Robins does not have a grant writer. And I know that the city of Macon has had grant writers to get funds for downtown Macon, especially when you have very, very old buildings that could be considered antique. I forgot that word for it, but you have to have certain people, planning and zoning, to help you do the work to upgrade those buildings, and that takes time and money. If we had a grant writer here for the city, they would be able to write, submit, and manage those grant proposals and acquire financial resources. That would help support the city, Warner Robins operations. I believe that if we have a council and a mayor that wants the best for the Warner Robins, including for their citizens, not always about making money, but improving that downtown area, like here we have at that circle. That would help. That's a start, where, there's a lot of small businesses that can, file for those grants, but they also need to help with a grant writer. I believe that would be a step forward.
Thank you. This is a related question. Cities and all across America are hitched to their hip with authorities. And that's one of the ways that you can expand your downtown and expand things that you think the city needs. The two have a complementary relationship in helping the city function and grow. An authority, which is an independent state-based entity, can spearhead a public-private partnership where a municipality cannot. When it comes to dealing with blight, property management, or economic development, it is the authorities that are best positioned to legally manage these efforts. Yet your mayor and council seem to have a contentious relationship with authorities. Why do you believe that is, and do you understand why both entities are needed to work hand in hand for a city to succeed? I know a little bit about this because I serve on the Macon-Bibb Urban Development Authority. We have revolving funds, We have ways to help people fix up their properties in the downtown area. And it's working. It took 20 years, but it is working.
Business should never be personal. For some reason within this city's government, there are petty beefs and contentious behavior within the realm of these authorities. The Economic Development Chair utilizes the tools before him, which are those authorities that you speak of, to include the Development Authority of Warner Robins, the Redevelopment Authority of Warner Robins, and the Downtown Authority. I think I'm for it. I'm for it. It frees up the responsibility of the mayor. Let the Economic Development Chair do his job. Just do his job and make that happen. There should be no reason why it should be contentiousness if everybody really, really wants to see this city move forward. And it goes back to what I stated before. Even though, based on the charter and everything that's been laid out, there's a status quo here that doesn't want to see the city grow, because if it does, it's going to force the hand for the status quo to relinquish their unsaid power. And therefore, that whole culture has to change unconsciously, whether they like it or not. And they're trying to hold that stronghold that's been here forever. And I believe that's where the contentiousness comes from. Now, I still, again, don't want to be accusatory, but it's obvious. It's obvious. What other reason would you have to set up a contentious culture around the development authorities and all the other authorities that are put in place to help your city grow? Why would you make it difficult? It's about power, and we need to change that.
Yes, I believe the City of Warner Robins and the other entities, authorities here in the county need to strengthen that partnership immensely. Otherwise, we're going to be falling behind and losing a lot of money. And that's not what we're in for. We got to have this money to take care and maintain our streets, our buildings, our property. And with that, we also have to have that police force. We need the fire department. We need possibly, I don't know how the House and Medical Center can survive as well. That's another entity in itself. I hope that as the next council member of that, I will be able to be supportive on that and have a voice for that and a stand for that, to continue to work with those authorities and push it forward, and not because my precinct is not getting what it should get. This is for the whole city, not just one precinct. And yes, my position is post one at large, but you got to look at it, the whole place, this whole city. 70-some thousand people live here, and that's a lot to take care of. And I'm hoping that the mayor will, and the council will continue to look and remember what they're there for, for the community, to sustain economic growth, and for our future generations to see what they're doing. Because if this doesn't work out where you can have all these businesses coming in, but you don't have the housing available for them, where are they going to go? Macon, right? They're going to go to Macon. So we need them to stay here. We need to make sure we have those balances in check for those issues. Again, you're talking about sanitation, the water, electricity, working with Flint Electric. It's all an organization that work together, and that's the way it should be, with open communication as possible. Thank you.
We got three last questions, and Ms. Vining, I think they've already answered the question that you have, so you can ask something else, but we're going to have Ms. Taylor to ask hers, and then you, and then Mr. Richardson will have the last question.
What is your vision for the projects needed to keep Warner Robins competitive with other growing cities, and what projects will you champion to propel Warner Robins into the future?
There's one answer for that. Make Warner Robins a smart city and make it a smart city now. We have the fiber optics in the ground. It's connected. Why won't we turn it on? It increased our bandwidth with our internet that would attract businesses here. Right now, I believe the Warner Robins internet service is operating on a 300 meg capacity going down. But if you not hook it up, but turn it on, those fiber optics lines that we have in the 27-mile loop of this city, we increase our bandwidth by 3 gigabytes going up and down at a cheaper rate than we're currently paying Cox Cable. When Cox Cable found out about this, they lowered their rate when they were charging us $20,000 to $14,000, but still we're at the same capacity going down. Even at a cheaper rate, if we hook that up, we lessen our rate and increase our bandwidth. That would be attractive. It would also create a situation where the base, even though we say we want to be independent of the base, but the way it is right now, we need the base to thrive. So we strengthen our relationship with the base by doing that, because there's a thing called BRAC that goes around this country every few years. It's called the Base Realignment Committee, where if they're based on different entities, if the relationship isn't strong with the communities or they're not giving that facility what it needs, they'll move the workload and shift it to another base. And it happened with Kelly Air Force Base in San Antonio. And a lot of those people left that community and moved here. Now, San Antonio is a much larger city than Warner Robins, so it didn't affect the city as a whole. But if that happened here, and the F-15, the C-130, the C-5, which is dwindling in its workload, if it shifts, Warner Robins will be a ghost town if we don't do something to keep the relationship strong, support them so that they can support us, and just keep that relationship open and going. So that's one way that's one project that I would like to see happen. That A2D project that's being held up in litigation. There's lawsuits in place, and it's just ridiculous, to be honest with you. We need to hook it up so that we can move our city forward and make it a smart city. There's so many beneficial things we can have happen in our city if it was a smart city. For instance, our police and our fire departments, it would strengthen the time it takes to react to calls from them and/or fires. If we had a smart city, we could place sensors around the city, even though a lot of people don't want to be surveilled, but it can deter crime, public safety, and so many other things. It will enhance our children. We can have internet sites around the city for people that can't afford internet in their homes, so that our children can continue to grow and learn at the rate as our constituents that have the resources within their home to teach their children what they need to. Thank you.
That's correct, Mr. Mack. In regards to the AD2 fiber optics, there has a lawsuit there with the mayor and the city to turn that on. I don't know why. But that would help us sustain it as in a smart city, new smart technology that we need desperately. I know that there's a new cable company that came in named Hargray. I think they're able to get their fiber optics down, but at a higher cost. Not the same price as the AD2 could give us and already has to the city. But at any rate, that's one thing about the smart city. The other thing, my vision is what I was thinking about was affordable housing. I know we've all heard about this, but it's very important because we are growing. We have just built, I think they opened up another new Chick-fil-A. They've opened up a Chili's over there in, off of 247 connector near the Galleria. Where are these people going to live? Where are they going to stay? You know, and that's a lot. We have to manage our tax dollars right now, because it's going to take a long time to get this situated if we don't do it now. The affordable housing crisis in the United States continue to be a problem in the middle of Georgia, and there needs to be housing providing just nurses, teachers, bus drivers. This is a critical issue for all communities. With the increase of business coming into Warner Robins, we cannot keep up with that housing. The cost of construction has soared, and I think that the best thing, if something that the city of Warner Robins could look into with business companies that build factory-built houses, like modular buildings, and you would say, like, almost like I was talking about the apartments they have for Auburn, they're like Legos. And it would cut down the cost. They could be built quicker, which will cut the cost of the labor and of time, and then it would recommend really to help our city to put those houses on those dilapidated properties. We need those people, the seniors, retirees, the homeless, the low income, that does not have those degrees, to live in a healthy, viable condition in this city. That we should be able to support that. And again, I believe working with the economic authorities, working with a grant writer, with finding financial resources, that we could transform those properties into a clean and healthy living area. Thank you.
Help me out. A2D, is that a minority company?
Yes, it is, sir. It's a minority company. When
So is there a problem there with that being a minority company?
It seems to be that, but again, sir, we don't want to be accusatory in our statement because we don't know and we weren't privy to the reason why. But the thing that's disturbing to me is when you've had a signed contract in place for that company, which is a minority-owned company, to service that contract from the beginning to the end, and then the mayor signs another contract with another contractor, Hargrave to be exact, without the council knowing. You got two contracts to do the service for the same thing. Therefore, A2D is suing the city of Warner Robins and the mayor. That's no respect for the constituents. You do not have their best interests at heart, and it looks like something somebody needs to change a diaper, to be honest with you.
Yes.
So from what I understand is that Hargrave cannot do what A2D is doing. So they're going to need A2D, even though they are laying lines, they still need A2D because they can't do what they do.
We need to direct all those very tough questions in a public forum in front of the entire city with the mayor as to why he did what he did, because no one knows.
We
need to direct that question to him in a public forum, and if he did something fraudulently, he needs to be held accountable.
Yes, sir. I do know the Robins Air Force Base, the general wants this fiber optics as well and is not happy that it's not being turned on for them. They're looking outside of Warner Robins to get that assistance.
Wow. Okay. Our next question, I was just asking. So who's yes.
As you noticed in the election we just had, because of young voters, we were able to make history. And I would like to know, as council members, what would you do to encourage young people to come out and vote for local elections? As you know, most young people do not have a lot of trust in our government, and we do not have a lot of trust in our local government either, because we notice things don't tend to get done here. So as council members, what would you do to try to uplift and encourage young people to think that their vote matters in their local elections and not just their federal ones?
What I would like to do with that, because that's a very important question, because we need for our young people to understand exactly how local government works, because if we don't mentor them and prepare them, they are our future, and we're setting this city up for failure if we don't create something that's going to get them encouraged to be involved in our local government. And one way I would like to do that is create something somewhat like a citizen outreach program, to reach out to them, to let them know that their opinions, their votes, and their tax dollars matters just as much as their grandparents or their parents for that matter. And their vote counts, and that the people that are in place are not above them, but they're to serve them. So we have to make it attractive through something, whether it be a town hall meeting developed around the things that they're interested in, and create some kind of way to answer the questions that they have, and create a spirit of inclusiveness for our young adults so that they can have a true understanding about it. And that would also go in the newsletter. Have a young person like yourself chair it, because you're passionate about that subject matter. Thank you.
I believe the exact same thing, having some mentorship program, a junior government, so to speak, for our city to be there, to be shown. And that junior doesn't need to be at somebody in high school, but at least somewhere in between 18 and 24. I believe that if you are interested in your city government, you will be interested, like you said, in the national level. You guys can make that difference. You did it in this last election, like you said. And I'm hoping, you know, this special election, I've heard that it always comes with low turnout. We have over 70,000 people. Maybe 10% will vote. 10% of people voices for 70,000. That's not good. So that's a great question you asked. This is my first round being in politics physically, because I do vote. I voted since I was 18. But like he said, our culture needs to change. And it happens to be start with yourself. You know, what you want to do, what I can do for you people here as a council member, for my community, our community, to say, hey, why don't you come on down to the meetings? I hate to say it like that because we don't have meetings anymore. You know, you got to be on Facebook or virtual meetings. But I'm hoping that changed eventually. But at any rate, that was a great question. I think in order to get that change, you have to change your mind. And I know we have some outsiders that are a lot bigger than me, that have better public voice, and I'm talking about like celebrities and things like that. But it takes a lot of people to get moving, and we got to do that with the current council and mayor now. Thank you.
And just a quick follow-up question. Obviously, during the summer, there are a lot of protests going on, and a lot of young people wanted their voices to be heard, and so we made them heard by having peaceful protests during the summer on the streets. And when we ask for our leaders to come, how are we to know that you're not just showing up for a photo op like some did, and that you actually care about the causes that we use our voice for?
That's a personal accountability directive. They have to answer for anything that lacks integrity in their personal life. There's no way to know if he's really true to his word or his intent. So from where I sit, if there's a bad apple on a tree, you don't have to touch that bad apple to help it fall. If there's any malice going on in his initiatives, that apple will fall. So if there's any negative innuendos going on there, I'm staying the course. And whatever that's not good in this person's heart, it's going to take care of itself. That's the way I feel about it. It's karma. Everything comes full circle. So I can't concern myself with things that I can't control, if that makes sense, because it's going to take care of itself. Like my mama used to say, Whatever you do in the dark, it'll come to the light. And that's what I believe in.
In regards to your question, I believe that like he said, it is that own person's integrity to show up, to be accountable. And I believe you have two people up here that have that. I don't know why, but, other people do what they do. For publicity, I guess they needed exposure, or maybe they're getting paid, or they're not getting paid is why they're not coming, It's each individual's decision. Thank you.
Can I just add something to that? This position is not a popularity contest. It's not a photo op for me. I'm a person of servitude. And if I'm here to serve, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And if I don't feel it in my spirit to do it, I'm going to let it be known. And I'm not going to show up if I don't feel it in my spirit. And I will be completely transparent as to why. I'm not going to do it just because it's an opportunity. I'm going to be really transparent in my efforts and my motivation to do or not do something concerning anything for that matter going forward for this city. And speaking of protests, I'm not a person that talks about it. I'm a person that's going to do it. As I stated before, I'm a boots on the ground kind of guy. Everybody on the planet knows about what happened in Brunswick, Georgia. It troubled my heart so badly. I'm an avid motorcycle enthusiast as I ride a Harley Davidson with a group of professional friends, men and women for that matter, in a commingled culture of common interest, and that's riding motorcycles. When this thing went down with Ahmaud Arbery, I reached out to my constituents, my friends in Atlanta. I said, I need 1,000 motorcycles. I reached out to my friends in Albany. I need 1,000 motorcycles. I reached out to my friends in Augusta and Savannah. I need 1,000 motorcycles. That spirit of serving metastasized, and we all collectively rode to Brunswick, Georgia, and 5,000 motorcycles showed up, and we rode, and we got a police escort throughout that city in silent, not silent because motorcycles get loud, but peaceful protest, and we rode through Centilla Shores before these young men got arrested. We were very integral in getting those men arrested because we demanded justice right where it was, and we said if they're not arrested, we will be back every weekend, every day, until justice is served. There's still a fight going on with this matter. So when it comes to protest, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to put, if it's in my spirit to do it, I'm going to do it full-fledged, forcefully. I will be an impetus to create a change, because if there's injustice for one person, it's an injustice everywhere.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Richardson.
I realize everybody in Warner Robins is excited about the new recreation projects that were planned and now being constructed. They're also happy that the mayor and council are in the media affirming this positive development and the impact it'll clearly have on this city. However, I had dark hair when the projects were announced 8 or 10 years ago, and they were promised to be delivered 4 to 6 years ago. If it takes 10 years to finally deliver basic recreation, how will you provide hope to the citizens to believe other projects that impact their standard of living and economic development get done on a timely fashion?
All right. There's a thing that, again, I mentioned it earlier, I believe. It's a necessary evil, Mr. Richardson. It is money. We've frivolously mismanaged a lot of our enterprise funds, our condemned funds, that could have moved this process along. I'm in agreement with you, sir, because my mustache got a little gray in it, too, and I was ready to go watch some ball myself. And I can't wait for it to open up, because I grew up being a product of the Warner Robins Recreation Department. I want to see the Optimist Bowl grow into its purpose as well from what it was. It was a prideful thing for our kids, something we looked forward to. It gave us bragging rights, and it created a competitive spirit. Excuse me. Created a competitive spirit within our friends. For instance, I went to Thomas Elementary School. Have you heard of that school? So it split the city down the middle. But when we went to school, that was the only time we got to see our friends that lived on the other side of town. And so when this team played with one another, that team played against, it was a competitive spirit, and it gave us bragging rights if who won the Optimist Bowl. And so I want to see that culture. It was a community effort. The entire city got behind the Optimist program and the Warner Robins Recreation Department. A year-round thing, track, basketball, baseball, football. It was the glory days of Warner Robins that also enhanced the spirit of the international city. So basically, community involvement is the key, but money is the necessary evil. We have to make our city well. It's a great city, but it's sick. We have to make it well. We have to allocate resources wherever we can, even if we have to invite our civic groups and give them the necessary tools to strengthen where we're weak. That's how I feel about that.
That's a great question. And I remember when I was in college in 1981, I met some kids from Warner Robins High School, and I visited down here the first time that I could recall. And I said, "Where's this road going to?" And that was Russell Parkway. And it stopped at Houston Lake. They said, that's going to hit I-75 one day. And it finally did. What, 10 years ago? 10 years ago. That was when I was 47. And I was 18 at the time. It's taken that long for the city and the county to agree on purchasing property, getting surveyors, all the legality work, paperwork to get done. And again, that takes money. I don't think they had the ability that they do now for the SPLOST money, and using that well for their purchasing projects. Like you're saying, how is that going to impact the standard of living and economic development in a timely fashion? Well, that works together. It's all with the Houston County Commissioner. You got to work with them. You got to work with all the development authorities and the property owners as well. So it's going to take time, unfortunately, but hopefully it'll get through. I remember when I played at the City of Warner Robins Tennis Center. We were promised tennis courts forever, and then finally with the Houston County Board of Education to build those beautiful 22 courts that we have now, man, that was a joyful day. Thank you.
All right, we're done with all of these questions. I want to ask the panel if you had anything else that you would like to ask these wonderful candidates.
I do. I want to know what your vision is as far as blight goes, because where I live, MacArthur Boulevard, I've lived there all my life. There is so many houses that are run down. You call code enforcement, and a lot of times things do not get done. Forest Park is another example. People go down there and dump, where the little girl got killed from the school bus, Forest Park Drive. But down in there, people dump stuff down there. But the houses and stuff, and all the blight that's in Warner Robins, North Davis Drive, what is your vision as far as doing that?
Ma'am, I have a vision because it's dear to me. I grew up in those apartments right across the street, Rosewood Apartments. This was a thriving part of the city. I saw how well maintained it was. Personal accountability for the homeowner, especially if they live there, all right? Out-of-town landlords need to be held accountable as well. We need to strengthen our code enforcement, but we can't strengthen our code enforcement until we give them the tools to do what they need to do. You only see blight in one side of this town.
I know.
And there's a reason why. There's a constituency in this town that really don't consider north of Watson Boulevard Warner Robins anymore. Case in point, why would you move the parade even though it's not a city function. Why would you move the parade to 96 where the people who really honored it the most attended it regularly every year? It was an annual event that was tradition in this city, all right? Me and my wife, we have an initiative that we're working on called the Lending Hand, Inc. And we want to turn one of these blighted buildings, whether it's that old movie theater in Northgate Plaza, and make it a transition house for the homeless, free of charge. We plant the seed and the harvest will come. We don't know how yet, but that's a personal choice that we're making because of the pride that is instilled in me. I purchased a home on this side of town, which is 3 houses down, just so I can say I'm doing my part to turn this community around, and I ensure that my property is kept up to par. So if I'm trying to hold someone else accountable, I'm holding myself accountable. Boots on the ground once again. So with that being said, these blighted buildings could be resources for our homeless and so many other things. If we create a culture where we're so busy trying to spread out with our building, we can find a way to tear down these dilapidated buildings that are not up to code and reinvest and rebuild in our inner so-called city. Even though I don't consider Warner Robins to have an inner city, but the innermost part of this community, we could reinvest in it and really make it nice. Prime example, if we take that Northgate Plaza, just an example, and make it an outdoor shopping center, plaza, and a hub with storefronts, nice apartments to attract the new airmen that come here. When the new airmen come to this area, they say, that's the hood, don't go over there. What's the hood? What is that? I don't consider Warner Robins to have a hood. But unfortunately, interpretation and is ownership to those that receive it that way or look at it that way. So collectively, we have to work together, not just as a city, but as a community. We need to create a culture where civic involvement is there. And through the city, how we can do that is we can allow these civic groups to adopt an area and make it a competitive spirit. Whoever maintains the best area, they're rewarded at City Hall. This is your month. This is your street for a month. Give them a heavyweight championship belt to wear and post for that month to instill pride to take care of those areas. There's so many ways you can do this, but it has to take the entire community and not just half of it. And that's why I'm asking you to elect me as Post 1 City Council so we can have a true opportunity at democracy that represents every citizen, regardless of economic base, race, creed, and or religion. Everybody needs to be represented, but that's not what's going on right now. And there's a base here that's trying to stack it that only represents one part of the city, and that's not right.
Thank you.
Yes, we do have a problem there, but it's not at Watson. It's spreading. It's, I would say, even now north of Russell Parkway. Even in those nice, beautiful homes in Quail Run, they were one of the first ones out there. Beautiful. There are a lot of vacant homes out there now. They have retired and passed, and their children's not want it, so it's up for sale, or it's just sitting there. Somebody's paying taxes, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of people that need to be accountable, like you're saying, homeowners. That one street you're talking about, Forest Park, I went around there. I have friends that live around there, and those custom-built homes are beautiful, but that one area is really strange. Unfortunately, we have, like Derek Mack said, about out-of-town landlords. We have in-town landlords, too. They need to be accountable. They need a bigger than just a fine, you know. Maybe we can announce them in the Houston Home Journal, hey, you know. But that's not going to correct everything. I believe in like that stricter code of ordinances, ensuring that people follow up and not just give them that fine and walk away. Okay, we did what we were supposed to do, but that's not enough. That's not enough. Thank God for those nonprofit organizations that help out with the housing here in Middle Georgia, all over the state, like Habitat for Humanity. You know, there's wonderful projects that they do for our cities and communities. I believe that if we don't have accountability of this city, of ourselves, it's not going to stop. Like, again, I believe if we get into like a grant writer for the city, it will help with those resources. Working with the Georgia Development Agency up in Atlanta, they have a lot of resources that we could be using, but we're not. That's, you know, maybe the council members need to start investigating, doing their own research on that to help promote that, get that grant writer down here. I mean, the police department has a grant writer. We need one too for the city operations. Thank you.
All right, we'll get it.
May I just say something else, sir? Ms. Taylor, I see you're passionate about that subject. I see that you are. So it's not just about finding. And the mayor stated this about the old bank over here in Watson. I have to say that I'm in agreement with him. Once you find them 2 or 3 times and you're not in compliance with the codes, put a lien on the property and take it. That's what I feel.
Well, I think you just answered part of my question. Piggybacking on Teresa's question, would you be willing as a councilman to employ eminent domain to take over blighted houses that the homeowners have not been responsive?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, we're going to end it up tonight. We're going to give you all 2 minutes to sum up or anything you'd like to say before we leave. And Ms. Hartley, will you go first? You can say anything you like to as we end it up. And then, Mr. Mack, you'll be the last one.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm here to announce my candidacy for the Warner Robins Council seat, Post 1 at large. I love this city, and I want to continue to support her through the responsibilities as a city council member. I've lived in Warner Robins for 37 years, and always enjoy being a part of this community. My goals will be to continue supporting and implementing ideas that is in the best interest of Warner Robins citizens. I want Warner Robins to become financially strong and resilient. I want the city budgets to balance and not to exceed. I will be involved with supporting groups and entities that support cost-effective projects and comply with environmentally safe businesses for the city of Warner Robins. This is one of the primary reasons that I'm running, is to have a change and a new voice here. I hope you will want to that same change and seek for a voice that cares enough to embrace our differences so we can aim higher than what we have before. I will collaborate with outside entities and work on projects together to support growth in our city and community. And thank you so much, Bishop B. and your establishment here for holding this for us.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the Bishop for providing this facility for this platform. And also thank you to Ms. Harless for answering the call to answer the questions that were prepared for us. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to meet before you to make my case as the best candidate as Post 1 City Council. As I've stated before, I'm the all-inclusive, all-access candidate. I consider myself homegrown, basically a native of Warner Robins, Georgia. I want to recapture the spirit of the international city. And by a show of hands, is there anyone in this room that has personally experienced the spirit of the international city? 3? All right, well, you're at 4, 3. You're in a treat, because the international city is a spirit in which I would like to recapture, because we were a commingled community. We didn't always have to agree, but we always agreed to disagree and keep it moving and enjoy each other's company regardless of where you lived, who you grew up with, or where you went to church. We were a commingled community, and I want to be all access, basically a liaison from the streets and boroughs of the city to City Hall to really address the concerns of the citizens, to give them a sense of pride to know that their voice and their vote counts. I want to keep their taxpayers, their tax money at the forefront of every decision that is made, with the transparency to let them know why we voted the way that we did, because we're not going to be able to always vote in the favor of every person in this city. That's obvious. We're just not going to be able to do it. But we at least owe them the explanation as to why we do what we do. Because the voters, again, are the most valuable asset in this city. As I stated before, the streets of this city are the veins, with Warner Robins being the body, and the people are the oxygen that flow ideas to City Hall. And I want to be their voice. So I'm asking you tonight, and everybody that's listening and looking, to get on the MAC train, because it's all-inclusive, it's a symbolization of strength, and it's an impetus and a force to move this city forward. It may sound cheesy, but it's a real thing. It has momentum. Nothing will get in its way. I plan on meeting as many people as I can and address their concerns, at least hear their concerns. Keep in mind, as you vote, I'm only one person. We have to work with the current city council and mayor to move things forward. And I'm willing to do that. So I would like to not only ask for your vote, but I'd like to earn your vote. Thank you.
All right. Now, again, after tonight, if you desire to be further informed, please go to your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, type in Warner Robins, Did You Know? And share and like and follow, okay? We want to thank Ms. Teresa Taylor for being here tonight. We want to thank, yes, that's good. Mr. Charles Robinson for being here tonight. Also, and Miss Alex Levine. She did a great job representing the youth. All right, and we just wish the candidates well. And you all did a great job tonight. You was very professional. Nobody slapped anybody, anything like that. So we thank you all for that. All right, let us all stand, and we're gonna be dismissed. So now, which one you like tonight? You want the long prayer or the short benediction? The short. All right, thank you. All right, let us bow our heads. Father, thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. You're dismissed.